Welcome to Discover Indie Film. I'm Jeff Howard, and I've been planning this introduction for 7 years. In fact, I'm tempted to say 7 motherfucking years.
Say it.
Right? Vincent Salvano, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Jeff. It's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure. We are on Zoom, so my usual Zoom. When we use Zoom to record a podcast, we don't interrupt each other, but there's like a little micro delay sometimes. So sometimes on the playback, it sounds like we're talking over each other. But I swear to God, Vincent and I are like, we're good.
We're in sync, even though we weren't right there.
Even though we just interrupted each other.
Right now.
But so if you don't like the sound quality or we're talking over each other, I swear to God, it's Zoom's fault, not ours. And the reason I like, so Vincent, you had a film at Film Invasion Los Angeles in 2018 called Crosby, which I have already told you before I hit record. It's still a favorite. It's a favorite of my nephews who have worked many festivals. It's just, no spoilers, but you don't have to worry about spoilers. It's from 2018.
Yeah, it's public domain
7 years ago. but I think the way we often refer to it, like amongst people I know who've seen it, is, like a funny, more sincere version of Fight Club.
Yeah, you could say that's
you know what I mean? Like it's externalizing the voice in your head.
Exactly.
But in a very authentic, like non-glamorized way. Like I think that's why my teenage nephew, at the time he was a teenager, responded to it so well, because you really nailed what it feels like for a young person to navigate this world.
I really appreciate that, and it really is a time. It is really a time warp to go back and think about it a little bit. But I was in college, and I wanted to. Well, on a logistical level, I wanted to write something that I could shoot for a very low budget with the help of friends and classmates at NYU, where I was going to school. Thinking about. I love movies with like a high concept premise, but with really grounded characters and comedy and the coming of age genre in general. When I talk about some of the movies that are my favorites, you'll probably see that you'll get a sense of how those align with my sensibilities. It was about this kid in high school, like you said. His parents are navigating a divorce. He's going through a lot of different social pressures in school, like many of us are during that time. So I'm really glad that the people who watched it related to it in that way. He gets kind of assigned to this, I don't know what you want to call him, but, I was thinking of, those imaginary friend type characters, but he's really not the best at his job. So it was really fun to kind of create this sarcastic sort of interplay between these two characters, but also, find the sweetness in it, have them both learn from each other along the way, and teach each other to be better people. So, I really appreciate you guys having it in the Sherman Oaks Film Festival back in the day. It was a bit raw. It didn't get into a whole lot of festivals, but it was very much, I think, a student film in regards of it being, first directorial effort by myself. But I'm glad that I got to make it with my friends, because I learned so much from everyone. Because we were about 3 or 4 years into school, and it was sort of, we were all figuring out what we wanted to do on set, what crafts we were sort of navigating and gravitating towards. We were just running around New York trying to make a movie. So I think in many ways, like, the actual process of making it may be a little more rewarding than the outcome. But again, I'm really glad that the people who did see it resonated with it. So it is definitely a nice time capsule to go back and think about a little bit after all these years.
Right. I mean, a film you make in college is totally a time capsule in a way, right? Now that you're a good distance out of college and whatnot. And I'll say, it's funny because you mentioned, you want to come up with a concept that wasn't super expensive, but you actually, it's a very, amusingly, it's, I think, it's like 20, 25 minutes, right?
Long, too long.
Which, well, I think it's great.
Thank you.
An amusing thing, I don't know if you know this, an amusing thing happened with our festivals, the two festivals we run, is that
Yeah.
somewhere around COVID,
Hmm.
film shorts started getting longer and better. Like it used to
Yeah.
be really rare for something to be like Crosby, where it went over 20 minutes and was worth watching. Because generally,
Yes,
in the
exactly.
early days, when a short was long, you'd give it a shot and you'd be like, nope, this was a 15-minute idea and they fell in love with a smell of their own, you know? Whereas Crosby's not like that. But so anyway, it's become so common now that
Yeah.
we bothered to create a third category. We, as far as length goes, our festivals, 20 minutes and under is a short, 20 to 60 minutes is a featurette, and then
Wow.
60 minutes plus is a feature, because the cutoff used to be 45 minutes, and it was like a 28-minute film and a 7-minute film should not be up for the same award, even if they're both
Right.
comedy. Like it's a completely different beast. So Crosby
Yeah.
would win Best Featurette today
Thank
if it
you.
were back.
Thank
You
you.
know what I mean? Like it's
We didn't have that. I know. Yeah. I mean, well, I worked with a really, really great editor kind of thinking about, what can we lift out? We filmed a lot. I wrote a lot. And it was a little bit of that naivete of like not knowing some of those practices with film festivals and the submission process. But at the same time, it was also like, well, I wasn't thinking about it. So maybe that was a good thing that I was sort of just writing it, not really taking too much into consideration about some of those political application, so film festival aspects, and yeah, just having the naivete to just do it and make it, and whatever length it came out, it came out. So I think that was great. It was very much an exploration of like. And that's what those years are about when you're in school. It's like figuring out what your voice is, what you're gravitating towards, what films do you love that really inspire you, and just having fun making it. Because I had been working on a lot of sets before that of my classmates who were directing, and just watching them and learning from them, but then also creating hopefully my own vibe as a director, and that has of course continued to evolve over the years, and from watching other directors who I work with on a day-to-day basis in animation and figuring out what they bring to a project, and how they lead and how they include everyone in the collaborative process. And that's the magic of it all. It's just figuring it out one film at a time. So yeah.
yeah, yeah. All right, so I didn't properly prepare you for one thing, which is I'm going to ask
Okay.
you to go way back now because I'm going to
Oh
ask
boy.
you the basic question I ask everyone on this podcast because I'm always, you can imagine as someone who has been
Yeah.
running two festivals a year for 10 years now, is
Yeah.
that, I'm really grateful, honestly, that there's people devoted to the art of filmmaking, like making shorts, doing that. It
Absolutely.
it's a labor of love by definition, right? So
Yes.
so when did you first get the bug? Like how old a person were you? Were you a creative
Mhm.
kid? Like were you writing short stories and stuff first and then got interested in film? Or did you grab a parent's video camera at like age 7 and just start, goofing around? Like what where did this start for you?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, earliest artistic um, sort of endeavors were, yeah, just as a young kid, I loved comic books, and I actually grew up. I actually had my own little comic strip in school, and I made it with a couple of my classmates. Silly characters, but that was like kind of the early, me trying to explore what this was. I was a terrible artist, and I still am. Luckily, I work in animation. I don't have to be an artist, but I do other things in it. But that was the earliest memory I had. And then, I watched a lot of TV as a kid. I was an only child, and I actually kind of just watched a lot of the TV shows that my parents watched, which were many of them were comedies, TV comedies. So we had things on box sets. We would watch them on repeat, like everything from I Love Lucy and Cheers and I mean, we were talking a little bit before this podcast. I am a little bit of an old soul, and that continues into television and my taste as well. And then when I was in middle school, I was watching those TV shows with my parents, and then what was airing at the time was like The Office and High School 30 Rock and Parks and Rec, and it was a combination of those shows and cartoons that I never really grew out of watching. I would say, SpongeBob and Scooby Doo and a lot of the classics. And it was all rooted in comedy and gags and fun. And once the facade was finally broken, and I realized you could actually work on these shows, I was I was endlessly sort of interested in figuring out how it all came together. I didn't have a lot of peers, I would say, early on who were interested in a career in film, but what I did have was amazing support from my parents, and I was able to explore that fully. I did a summer high school intensive in filmmaking at NYU. And we basically stayed in the dorms for a month, and it was it was a crash course on everything filmmaking, from some professors at the school. And that, after that month, I was like, I just want more of this. And, it inspired me to apply to their undergraduate program. And I got in. So those years were, those were about, as we talked about with Crosby, just figuring out the different departments and different crafts, but also, discovering what your voice is as a filmmaker. And I would say about halfway through, I discovered animation more fully. John Canemaker, who was an animation scholar and professor at the school. He taught storyboarding, and he was the head of the department. And he was an amazing mentor. And he kind of broke it open for me, because I was always, as I talked about with the comics, I was always doubtful about working in animation because I was not an artist and I didn't really know what it meant to make. He was basically like, no. A lot of people work in animation and contribute to it in different departments, just like live action, development, production, writing. But the most important thing was just a strong work ethic that he helped me, discover, and commitment to the creative process, and an openness to learning from other people and people that are more experienced in that field than I am. And so far in my 6 or 7 year career at this point, in the long gap that we have talked, I've been really lucky to learn from some of the most talented people making animated films and TV shows. But from the earliest onset, it was really just like I was a child of television and of really supportive parents who were like, just go out and do this. And so I really couldn't be more grateful for them. And yeah.
And it sounds like you were generally, well, it's funny. Couple things for me to note is, first, comics are storyboards, right? It's like writing a comic is literally writing a script and then storyboarding it, which totally leads into animation. And every TV show you named, except maybe Scooby-Doo, is brilliant writing. You know what I mean? Yes, but like SpongeBob is actually so well written that I wouldn't trust a person who doesn't enjoy, like, if someone doesn't have a positive opinion of SpongeBob, then they don't like the English language, because that show is so well written that any adult exposed to it, because I was exposed to it as an uncle, basically, like, it's genius. Like, it's really well written. And of course, you mentioned Parks and Rec and The Office and this and that, and I'm like, these are all 30 Rock. These are all brilliant writing, brilliantly written television.
And that's the sweet spot that inspires me. And we could talk a little bit about it, but I had worked at Pixar for about 3.5 years in between that time. And, it's that, I don't, they call it 4 quadrant, but it's really about, it's about making content that your kids and kids and families can watch and enjoy together. And that was the experience I had as a kid from my parents exposing me to these shows and watching them with them. So for me, that was just such an amazing process, and it continues to inspire me. I think it's the hardest type of storytelling to try to appeal to everyone, but I think it's ultimately the most rewarding when you can have, you can inspire conversations between, yeah, your parents and your kids, and unlock conversations you might not normally have with them, as you're growing up. So it's the best.
For sure. And you had an insight there that I've always so we've got an only child who's actually heading to college in the fall.
Congrats, nice.
And she really gets along with like every time, like she looks forward to when we have a party with our friends because but only children really get used to talking to adults and hanging out with adults.
Very
And
much so.
you just made me realize that it also and she watches stuff with us, and
Yeah.
for better or worse, I've had to watch nothing but horror movies with her for like the last since she came home from the sleepover party at age 13 and announced I only watch horror now.
Nice,
But it is interesting that I think an only child is going, because like if you have a sibling who's a playmate, then you're going to focus more on the Scooby-Doo and less on The Office.
Yeah.
But if you're going to interact with the adults, you're actually going to be exposed to much more mature storytelling.
Yes, it's true. And it lets you, and you don't have a sibling to bounce ideas off, so your imagination runs wild all day.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
we'll do that too. Yeah.
Your imagination. Well, I'm not going to bother asking you if you had any imaginary friends, but the whole
I certainly did. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, there
I
you go.
mean, I had an older brother and I still had him, right? Because in the end, like,
Sure, that's true. Yes.
if you're a creative person, you're going to imagine stuff. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
So, and congratulations, by the way, because I mean,
Thanks.
as I recall, like we met, it was probably June of 2018, and then we always talked about doing this podcast. I believe I started the podcast in 2017, so I probably invited you on not long after, and I remember being like so happy for you, like when look, getting hired at Pixar out of college must have felt really great.
It did. It was crazy. It's not an opportunity that you ever expect to happen. And I had been there for about maybe 5 or 6 months before I had met you at that festival, and it was a little intimidating. Not necessarily about working there, but just because I was an East Coaster all my life and born and raised in New Jersey, and I was in college in New York for 4 years, and I just naturally assumed I would stick around New York, and make movies there or work in TV there, And there was a lot of children's television there. There's Sesame Street and Jim Henson, and there were other networks at the time that were there, Nickelodeon. So I was like, yeah, I'll stay there, and maybe I'll try to find an opportunity on the East Coast. But I had gotten an internship at Disney Junior, which makes preschool content, and so I did that for about 6 months. I came out to Burbank right out of school, and I did that internship, and I learned from a lot of amazing people there. And then through a lot of some luck and some timing, I was looking for jobs. My internship was ending, and I was cold calling like many of us do in this industry. And my resume happened to land in the hands of a recruiter, and the timing worked out. I did some interviews and got the job there. And like you said, yeah, it's kind of it's a wild time to start at a studio like that. But I just tried to know that I just tried to kind of come there and just know that I had a lot to learn. I had some to contribute, but I had a lot to learn. And then naturally, I think as the years passed, I grew into my own a little bit, and I kind of embraced my sensibilities, and I could be a little bit more vocal in my instincts and my intuition at the studio. And one opportunity led to the other. So I started as a PA. At the time, Disney Plus was exploding, so Pixar was making series content, which excited me the most because, again, I loved television and wanted to work in it. So after Toy Story 4 that I was a PA on, they were making a streaming show about the character of Forky, who's in that film. So it's about ten or so short films, and I jumped on that. I learned a little bit. I was in creative production, and then I worked in creative development for a bit, which is where you develop the ideas basically at the earliest stages. You do a lot of research with the directors about whatever subject matter they're exploring for their film. And then one series in particular that was recently released called Win or Lose came about. And I just latched onto it immediately. I met with the directors, very much aligning with the sensibilities that we've been discussing so far. It is a coming of age story about a middle school softball team, and every episode is told sort of Rashomon style in a different perspective. Each episode, everyone from the head coach to the students to the players to the umpire, all exploring different insecurities that they have and using animation as a device to express those and represent those. So for me, it was like, oh my gosh, is there any way I can work on this? So I jumped on from basically the get-go. I oversaw the story department and the editorial department. I helped write on it a little bit. It was just a small crew figuring out how to make this show that Pixar had never made before, really, to that scale and to that degree. And we wanted to push boundaries stylistically from a storytelling perspective. And I think we achieved that. So I'm really, really proud of it. It was just a very inspirational project to work on. And I think through it, I just discovered stuff about myself, about being a good collaborator, about what good leadership is. And it was a blast. So yeah, all through my time there, I had a wonderful experience. I made my own short, which I can talk a little bit about, when we get there. But as part of the studio's independent film program, which was a blast. And all in all, yeah, it just I think working there made me a better filmmaker and a better person. I opted to leave the studio, come back down to LA to work in animation, just to kind of, again, continue taking steps further outside my, comfort zone and just wanting to, explore writing more and directing more. And I'm glad to be doing that down here. So yeah.
Yeah, I've got a question, which is, and I'm being that jerk who already has an idea what your answer might be, but Pixar was Marin based, right? Bay Area.
Correct. Yes.
So you actually had was it fantastic to sort of get a start in the industry, but away from Hollywood, like really far removed? Like I think you were, it's kind of perfect, right?
It is. And I looking back on it now, I like aspects of both cities so much, but when you're starting out like that, and yeah, you're sort of going out there alone. I mean, it's like, at least with LA, I knew some people who were out here. I knew some people in New York. That's a total left hook. I didn't know anybody in the Bay Area, so it was a little bit scary, but once I got to know the community there and the people there, knowing that they had all sorts of interests and the things that inspired them, it wasn't always a dialogue about filmmaking or getting to the next thing. There was always those conversations about, well, what are the things that just inspire you, outside of the parameters of Hollywood and filmmaking, and how is that informing these projects that we're making here at the studio? So for me, it's like, so I see it now. I understand why the studio is so successful. I think everybody there opens themselves up to all different kinds of experiences, and lets that hopefully pour through into the final product. And there was a really strong sense of community, and I feel like if I had started in LA, I might have felt like I was going at it a little bit more alone and a little bit more you know how there's a hustle and there's a rush, and not to say that I didn't have that at Pixar, but it was framed completely differently, I think. And yeah, for some, I think, and it's interesting. Like if I had started working there at my age now, or when I was, 32 or 33, I may have had a different outlook. I'm not sure, about how I felt about living there and working there and everything. So, but, everything happens for a reason. And it was in some ways like a grad school type of thing, because it was like, oh, okay, like I got all of the basics of the filmmaking and what it's like and running around New York and making movies, but like, okay, how does it actually work beyond animation and beyond filmmaking? It's like on just a personal level, on figuring out the things that inspire everyone there, and all the experiences that are contributing to these films. So yes, it was a blessing for sure to start
A
in the Bay.
blessing and a blessing. Yeah, I mean, because yeah, when you start, if you move straight from East
So
Coast
yeah,
to LA,
it's a huge
you could
shift.
have a great experience, but you could I know people who graduated and ended up working here, and you're one awful boss away from being completely disenchanted, right? And I'm sure
Yeah,
there's awful bosses at Pixar, but still the perception from the outside is that Pixar, because it's genuinely run by the creative, like the creatives
yeah.
from the top down, there's creative emphasis is my
Yes.
impression.
And it's everywhere. And I'm lucky that I worked with great leadership because, I was also, yeah, I mean, I was also doing comedy and I was doing stand up and improv like around the Bay. And the folks at Pixar took note of that. And it was just things like, if there was like a behind the scenes DVD extra, I was like, oh, have Vincent, help write it or act in it. Or, we had the premiere for Toy Story 4 and I opened up the whole show, with a 5 minute stand up act, telling jokes about making fun of myself and Toy Story jokes and things like that. And it was weird to have like to be a PA and to have leadership give opportunities to you like that. They weren't, they're not much, but it's like I got to host like Halloween every year, like the costume contest in the main atrium, where everybody gathers and people come up with these amazing costumes that they create, that are so lifelike and well thought out as the movies are. And it's like, they identified areas that I was figuring out in myself and what I was gravitating towards and how I could contribute, and they helped lean into that, and that was really really special, and I'm now, I'm one of many stories like that there. So it was
Yeah, I
great.
mean they clearly believe in fostering talent and fostering opportunities, and and they're not being competitive, right? Sometimes people are
Yeah.
competitive with the people
Yeah.
instead of nurturing people. They want to hold them down to prove who's boss and whatnot. And
And when it got to a certain point where it was like, okay, I think this is probably as much as I could do right now here at the studio, maybe in many years from now, it could be great I could come back in the capacity that I would want to come back as. But it was very like supportive. It was like, yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Go out there, and I learned so much, and I had the tools. I think I had the tools that equipped to come down to LA and give it a fair shot. So and so far it's been good. I've been lucky.
that's fantastic. Yeah, and they did. Okay, so I remember your other short that Pixar, right? Pixar
Yeah,
had
the
a
anime.
program where they encouraged someone like yourself, like
That's
you
right.
got to make an animated short up there, yeah?
So what it was, yeah, it's called the Pixar Co-op program, and it allows employees to make a film with the support of the studio's resources, obviously the employees, but you have to work on it after hours. So that it took a little bit longer because of that, but you know what I at that time, I had finished directing Crosby and some other shorts here or there, and I was trying to soak in as much as I could from the directors at Pixar. And I thought back to the shorts that I grew up the animation that I grew up watching, the cartoons I just, talked to you a little bit about. And I talked to my fellow PA on Toy Story 4, and I was like, I really want to make something that rekindles that nostalgia I had, at least, for those 90s cartoons that were silly and fun, that were squash and stretch, that were gag driven, didn't have a lot of dialogue, and just represented animation in its purest form. And it was really, really fun to explore what that would feel like. And we had, obviously Pixar is a CG studio, but we had the opportunity to work with people from outside the studio as well on it. That was one of the other great benefits of the project. So I got to call up friends who were at NYU. Actually, Aaron, who was the star of Crosby, who played Al, he ended up composing the score for this film. It's called Amped, by the way, but he ended up composing the score. He's an amazing music composer. So, I got to call friends and meet people I never met before, who were animators, who were really, really passionate about 2D animation, because that's what we wanted to do. And it came together. It took about 2.5, 3 years, to actually from like initial idea to finished product. But we made, a 5-minute, 110 shot animated short from going through every stage of the process. And we tried to follow the method that, studios follow, which is, we were talking about comics earlier. And as you may know, when you make an animated film, the first 2 years, the film is only in storyboards. It's only in animatic, and we're just figuring out what's working and what's not. And over the course of those 2 years, we're checking in on it, every 2 or 3 months with studio leadership and all the creatives, and we're giving our notes on it. So I had gone through that cycle a couple times, and I was like, we have the editors, we have the storyboard artists here. Let's make an animatic, and let's really refine it to the point that it's going to be animation ready. So that's what we did, and that served as a great blueprint for how we actually ended up animating it, and the clarity for the animators, and for them to put their all into it. It was a great process. So it's in the festival circuit now. We finished it. It was a wonderful collaboration, and it was a lot of hard work. We didn't make it for any money. So it's out there now, and we've gotten some really nice reception about it. So it was a great learning experience for me, and hopefully everyone involved, to kind of step into shoes that were, maybe outside of their comfort zone, or areas that they wanted to explore. A second assistant editor at our studio was the lead editor on this project, and someone who was a cleanup animator was a shot animator on this. So it was just like, again, thinking about the arc from Crosby to this, it was like wanting to make an inclusive environment where everyone can wear the hat they wanted to wear, and there was no clock on it, just to contribute what they wanted, or what they wanted to explore further. So I think that's, again, one of the more behind the scenes aspect of it, but a really wonderful aspect of the process of it.
Yeah, because so it started with the co-op, but because the 2.5 year time span, so you were no longer at Pixar upon completion. Then it actually worked out that way. And I guess, what, I'm going to address an elephant in the room. I'm looking. It got really good review. It got really nice ratings from the Sherman Oaks Film Festival jury, but you get 850 films,
dude.
What? You know what I mean? It was.
Don't even sweat it.
Hey Siri, stop! Did I say anything that sounded like that? Okay.
Siri's just mad at you,
Siri's mad at me because Amped didn't. Yeah, so Amped, what? I'm literally looking at it, and I bet you $1, like. it was really close because I'm looking at what your average score was with our jury, and I'm like,
It's all good.
motherfucker,
It's
like
all good.
if I, no, but get this,
It's very different from Crosby. It's not,
it's very different, but I probably shouldn't even say this, but if I had been aware,
Yeah.
if I had been more aware, but what happens is I probably watched it like I watch stuff really early, like I watch stuff as it comes
Nice.
in.
Yeah.
And then by the time it's like selection time, I just sort the spreadsheet based on the everyone's ratings. And like, if I don't remember that Vincent's film that I had watched it like
Been a long gap,
2 months ago, I don't
Yeah.
like look and go, wait a minute, it's close. All right, let's bump someone else the fuck out of his way.
That's me.
Like, and I admit, I might do that sometimes, but only for
We're
quality shit. That's all. It's not. But anyway,
We're
so
getting-
yeah.
No,
I figured I should share it. I figured I should fess up that I've seen
I'll
it,
resubmit next year.
and I'll give you a waiver. I'll give you a waiver because
yeah, waiver me. Yeah, thank you.
heck, I want you to see the killer new theater we're in compared to
Would love to.
the cute little spot
Yeah, right.
where you met me. I'm sure you were like, wow, look at this. This is
We are no. No, we're getting some love. It's a it's a new process for me as well of getting it into submitting it to festivals and everything. But no, we've gotten into like Catalina and oh my gosh, Brooklyn Film Festival, Beverly Hills, Dumbo. We're doing LA Shorts International Film Festival in July next month or in a couple weeks. So that's really exciting.
yeah. LA Shorts is great.
Yeah, we've got a really great block with a lot of great films from like Annecy, from Disney, DreamWorks. So we're really excited to be a part of it, and I'm excited to. So yeah, we've been getting some love, and again, just just being able to go out there. We obviously had a screening at Pixar, and we did a Q&A there, which was really fun. So it was nice to go back a few months ago and say hi to everyone, and have folks from the studio watch it. But no, it's just been nice. It's been nice to get it out there, to talk about it with people, because that's the best thing about animation is that people are really, really passionate about it. And to the festivals that we've gotten into that are really more animation driven and focused, I think we've had the most fulfilling experience in because, 2D animation is not in style these days as far as the feature pipeline. I think more so it is. It's starting to come back. There's a resurgence, I think, on shows on Netflix and in other areas, like the new Porky and Daffy feature on HBO was fantastic. It's those are the festivals that we've had a really, really great reception and just like community with. So hopefully more of those to come. Yeah.
And was it what was it like to go back to Pixar? Was it nerve-wracking to show it to the people you used to work with, or was it just fantastic?
No, it was fantastic because it just felt like a nice little homecoming, and also all my Pete Docter and Andrew Stanton and all those directors there, they stopped by and they watched it. It was nice that they gave their time out of their really busy schedules to come by to watch it with all of us. So we had a full screening room in the Steve Jobs Theater, and we got to talk about it, my producer and I afterwards, and just kind of reconnect with everybody. It's one of those places where you will never lose touch with people there, no matter where you go, because it's such a formative experience and part of your life, and people are genuinely, I'm very grateful, and people are genuinely interested in my career trajectory and path and what I'm continuing to do down here in LA. So, and I'm always interested in every time obviously a feature comes out, I'm like, there's still being released of stuff that I worked on there. So that's how long this process takes, obviously it's a 4 or 5 year process, but it's the best, so like I said, animation, as it's very close knit and people are really passionate about it. So, would I make another animated short after this? I don't know. I think it was a big, it would take me, I need a little break. I think I might need to go back to live action for a little bit. But as far as like, as a director, because it was really exciting. But again, it's just, it's a wholly different process, and it's been a process that's been on my mind for so long. And it's not that I don't want to make another one, but it's a huge lift when you don't have a budget and you don't have as many resources. Well, I'm lucky to say that we had an incredible crew who stuck with us too. I mean, we were making some of it during COVID. A lot of it was over Zoom. And for it to have come out as holistic as it did is all thanks to everybody who contributed to it. Truly. Because it's, like I said, it's a 5-minute short doesn't appear like a lot in live action, but obviously, as you know, when you're working with 110 shots, all being individually animated and colored and cleaned up, and composited and scored, it's a huge endeavor. So, but I loved it and learned a lot from it. Maybe I'll come back to it as far as a director, maybe in a couple of years, but I might pivot to live action after this, to a short or something like that.
It's nice to have both sides.
It's nice to have both. Absolutely.
Yeah. So we've given a lot of time to Pixar, but I don't want you to, but when you left Pixar, it was for an opportunity in LA. Do you want to?
Yeah,
I don't want to give whatever that is short shrift. If
no, yeah, a couple things
probably deserves just as much attention. Like,
thanks, thank you. When I came down here and I wanted to focus on a couple things. I wanted to focus on myself as a performer and as a stand-up. So I'm doing that right now. I'm doing it, and I do some shows, around LA. Nothing too consistent, but I get out there at least, a couple times a week, and I do shows Silver Lake and Echo Park and places like the Elysian and Dynasty Typewriter and UCB and things like that. Shows here and there, and it's been nice to just like grow and develop with that community of stand-ups and improv and improvisers. So that's been really fun. So doing a little bit of that, and then also focusing more on writing for live action and for animation. So I worked in the writer's room for an animated series called Wandla, which has been the second season just released on Apple, and there's one more final season that's going to be coming out later this year. It was a huge undertaking, a fully CG long-form series based off of a series of young adult novels by Tony DiTerlizzi, who wrote the Spiderwick Chronicles as well. And it was a huge undertaking, but it was a project that we really wanted it to be script-driven and writer-driven, and I got to work in the writer's room on all 3 seasons of that show. So I'm really proud of it. It was a little bit out of my comfort zone because it was more fantasy adventure. But again, to your point of like wanting to kind of stretch yourself and get in areas outside your comfort zone, I got to do that. And I also got to work with really funny writers and talented writers who had, people at different levels, from staff writer to story editor to executive producer. So there was that. And so I'm really proud of that show. And then now I am working in the writer's room on an unannounced, it's a feature. It's based off of the fairy tale Jack and the Beanstalk, and it's going to be coming out on Netflix hopefully later next year or early the following. It comes from Rich Moore, who directed Wreck-It Ralph and Zootopia. And on The Simpsons for many years. He was one of the original directors on The Simpsons. Very comedy driven, super fun. Learned a lot from everybody on that show, and it's been a wonderful collaborative effort. So excited for it. Hopefully to announce more soon, later next year.
That's fantastic. And I mean, hey, as an outsider, I can't help but note that of all the careers where performing comedy is a benefit and not a what's he doing with his spare time kind of thing, it's writers' rooms. Right? Like being able to write your own material for stand-up and and also to do improv.
Yeah.
Like, it's respected in a writer's room, whereas elsewhere, probably not. And I also have to note that, like, so I'm actually probably like the reason I started this podcast in 2017 is I was a What the Fuck fan of Mark Maron's and
Yes,
saw
yes, of
Mark
course.
Maron perform at Dynasty Typewriter a couple times when he was like
Oh,
really
cool.
small and just getting it started. And he constantly said, like, it's always better to start in the Bay Area than LA. Because if you start in LA, it's just like, just kind of sucks. Whereas if you start doing stand up in the Bay Area, you can grow some muscles and like work on some shit and not have the whole LA thing like beat you down.
Yeah, there's more time given to you. There's more community to it. It's not as much of a grind. I didn't know a whole lot of people, but more experienced stand-ups would fly back and forth, would do shows in the Bay and would work down here. So I tried to keep in touch with them and they would help me out with spots or just like, opening for them or something like that and continue to do so, which I'm very grateful for. But yeah, it is. I'm very, very glad. And New York is more or less like LA as well. But when I was in New York, I got to, I just hung around some of the clubs there, and I got to sort of film. Some comedians wanted their sets filmed, so they were like, "Hey, NYU student, grab your camera. Can you shoot? I'll pay you $20 to do this." And so that's what I did. Everyone from like, yeah. Judah Friedlander to other regulars at like the Comedy Cellar, on the in the East Village in New York, and that was like just being able to watch them and experience them and soak that in and what that is like, what it's like in a room. It was wonderful, and the writers' room is the same way. You're always improvising and you're always bouncing ideas off of the other people in the room, and you've probably seen, like, I don't know if you've watched the most recent season of Hacks, but it digs into that a little bit of what that process is of being in a writer's room on a late night show that's a lot of high pressure. And when someone there's always that there's a writer that like kills the vibe in a room or like their joke doesn't land. It's like the silence. And I've had some of those moments myself and in those early days, and it's like it's a learning process like anything. It's because you have the fun of it and the exploration of it, but then you're on a deadline and you have to deliver, if we need an outline by the end of the week, if we need an episode script in 2 weeks, we have to hit those marks. So there's a huge amount of discipline involved and a huge amount of improvisation and figuring out how to solve problems, ultimately, having an understanding of story structure. And, every show is different, but also every show still brings the essentials of telling a compelling story. So it's a mixture of both. But yeah, it's been really great. And I hope to continue to build out my voice as a writer and to hopefully get some representation, and hopefully just keep pushing myself forward and trying new things. And, obviously it's a crazy time and place in this industry right now, especially for writers. But luckily I've been fortunate when, as I said about animation and the process of it, it takes so long to make these projects and they keep their writers' rooms going for longer. So I've been lucky to have been able to continue working with great people. And, yeah, so I'm riding that high right now, and I hope it keeps going.
I gotta say, and apologies in advance for to mention how times used to be better for writers, but like
Yeah.
I can remember when I was your age,
Yeah.
which was a long time ago. It was literally like anybody who got hired, not just in a writer's room, if anyone who got hired as a writer's assistant on a TV series instantly got an agent.
And
You know what I mean? Like instantly got representation. Like it was just, it was locked in. Like it was a big deal. And you are actually, I guess I really didn't know this, so that's just not true anymore. Like now you can be in several writers' rooms and you can be working on established long-term projects, and still people aren't like, and you're not getting the welcoming committee that writers got just, well,
Yeah.
in my case, it was 25 years ago, but I'm only like 25 to 27 years older than you, so that's not quite twice your age anymore. But I was more than twice your age, I guess, when we
you
first met. Who knew?
you look just like me, just without hair. That's all. We basically look exactly the same. You can see in the photo.
We're cut from the same Mediterranean cloth.
No, I mean like writing staffs were bigger. I mean, I just talking about those shows that I grew up watching. Like, man, like, could you imagine being a writer on Cheers or a writer on some of these long running sitcoms, The Simpsons for that matter? I mean, that's still going today. I mean, man, oh man, it's such an incredible opportunity, but even though, those shows are few and far between now and shows get canceled but what's kept me in it, luckily, is the relationships I've made, people at Pixar also know the people working on these movies right now. There's tight connections among animation. So it's a nice thing. Does it mean would I like to eventually branch out a little bit, and maybe work in live action or some other medium? Yeah, I think so at some point, but I'm taking it kind of one opportunity at a time. Being grateful for the people that I'm working with and learning from every day and having a lot of fun too, laughing a lot all day in the writer's room is great, but also doing real work and hopefully being a good collaborator. And we'll see how it all shakes out, but there seems to be a hunger for more content, for more animation as well. Netflix is doing a lot right now, and to be a part of their animation slate is cool, and hopefully it keeps going. So, but yeah, it's a little bit of an odd time right now. Yeah, it is.
It's an odd time, yeah. Well, we don't have to bring up COVID and strikes and shit. But so my question to get to avoid that topic, not avoid it, but I'm actually quite curious. So
Yeah.
when you are creating for yourself, when you're brainstorming at night at home or whatever, are you thinking screenplays? Are you actually thinking really you're writing for stand up? Or is it every night you could focus on something different?
Yeah,
Like do you have a pile of scripts in the back of your mind or in a notebook, or are you really just like, I mean, back in the day, every comedian I knew had the little black book of jokes,
Oh, of
right? Like
course.
always writing, just scribbling down half an idea anytime you have it.
Yeah. I got the notebook or the notes app now, but yes, yeah, it's well, part of my problem is probably the latter, that I stretch myself into like, oh, today I'm going to focus on stand up, and now I'm going to focus on this TV pilot, or now I want to make a short. And, maybe not everything gets the love it deserves. So I think right at this stage, I'm trying to just commit to one thing. And I think at the moment, it's been so fun. It was so fun just, getting this animated short out there, and I really loved the experience of it. But in some ways, I kind of want to think back to my Crosby years and try to channel back into that of like, all right, blank slate, not thinking about what an audience would want, not thinking about this or that. What is it that really appeals to me? What is it that got me into this? What are the shows and projects that I'm really passionate about? So I'm trying to think in that space right now. I don't have anything full-fledged yet, but I want to put myself into that into that 2018 Vincent again. So, and I think that might do me wonders.
Yeah, well, and not to mention that, like, you also look your core group of people you
Yeah.
can like if when you not if but when you have the idea you fall in love with.
Yeah.
Like I get it. You're at UCB at times. You're here and there. Like
Yeah.
you're going to be able. You like if you decide to do another Crosby kind of vibe,
Yeah.
you're going to have a lot of people you can reach out to.
A lot of people and a lot of experiences from working at so many different studios and all these people who have I've been inspired by, truly. So it does. I have a lot more. Yeah, I have a lot more in the holster, hopefully, to kind of execute on it, and that's the plan. But for now, it's like just thinking about, yeah, what I'm what I'm really passionate about. And it'd probably be in the coming of age space and the comedy space, kind of like Crosby was, but also, yeah, but just more reflective of, yeah, who I am and what's been inspiring me. I've seen a lot more movies since then. I've worked on a lot of other crews since then. So, hopefully, that idea will come and I will love it endlessly to work on it for a long time, like I did on this animated short. So yeah.
That's true. It's got to be something that appeals to you so much
Yeah,
you're willing to suffer for the art again and make it a passion project, right?
absolutely. 100%. Yeah,
Because yeah, it is but that's what makes things good is when they're from the
it
heart.
is.
And when you're making it because you have to, when you're just like, you know what? This idea has been with me for three
Yeah,
months now and I can't shake it. And at this point I gotta start telling other people about it and start
yeah.
talking to people like, hey, would you be the lead in a live action thing? I'm thinking of doing live action again.
And I'll be emailing you when I submit it to. Sure
Are you
enough.
you'll make sure I know. But no,
Hey, Jeff, how's it going? Remember me?
but
Yeah.
also so as a performer, are you ever interested in being in front of the camera or are you not you
Well, I mean,
because like when I really never knew that you had the performer side to you.
thanks. No, I mean, I'm still figuring it out, but yeah, I mean, doing stand up, but also working with like improvisers is really fun too. I mean, that always makes me the most nervous. I'm always, and I guess maybe it's just being a writer, just wanting to go out there with prepared material as much as possible. But I've learned that you have to give way to spontaneity and improvisation, even in stand up. So yeah, that's one track, and then when you work at these animation studios. You do a lot of voice acting. We do something called Scratch, which is all the employees do, in those first 2 years when you're just an animatic, you're not really recording with the final talent. You're just grabbing your colleagues, and you're especially during COVID, in our closets with a microphone and pillows around us, recording. And so yeah, I've been doing that. Geez, all the way since Pixar. So that's just a blast to do. I love just like I love just using my voice. It's really, really fun, and just to try to channel different characters and stuff like that for the final product. So because you want to, it's really fun because you're passionate about wanting to put the best foot forward with your animatic because you know that all the studio is going to watch it and give their feedback. So you want to make it the best you can make it, and it's been really fun. It's just another thing that you do when you work in animation and you wear a lot of different hats. So yes, I've known to do a lot of silly silly voices day to day on the film I'm on now and past projects as well. So that's always fun too, performance wise.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Honestly, as a fan of it, and I admit, like I mean, I guess there's people that don't like animation. I'm not sure I've met one, but they have to exist.
Okay.
But like, I mean, animation is always well, and anyone who's ever if you've ever been an uncle or had a kid, you
Yeah.
start to realize like, why are these animated movies so much better written than the live action? And it's I guess it's really because of the amount of time you have to put into it. Like you can take a
It is.
half-assed script and shoot it with live actors, but you're not going to start animating until it's great. I guess that really is it.
Yeah, my Michael Arndt, who wrote Little Miss Sunshine, and then he worked on Toy Story 3 and a bunch of other Pixar projects. He was like, man, if every studio had the luxury and resources of building out animatics for their movies, we'd have a lot more better live
More
action
better
movies out
films.
there. So,
And I
but
was going to mention too that like I love when you hear a story like right wasn't the voices in Wall-E, they stuck with the scratch track, right? They stuck with some of the animators' voices
yes,
stayed for the final film
right.
because there was no reason to have Eve's voice changing.
Yes. And that was surreal when I was interviewed at Pixar by Alyssa, who voiced Eve, who I ended up working with very, very closely through the years. And we're still keep in touch and text, and we're still good friends to this day. And it's incredible, and you get to leave your footprint on really, really great projects. And look, some aspects of animation, it's all over the board nowadays, and studios they can't help but to feel the pressure to maybe cave to wanting to sell consumer products, and there's an aspect of that to all animation filmmaking, even at Disney and Pixar. But there's also integrity and passion to telling the best story you can make it, even if it's the fourth or fifth Toy Story. So, and I'm lucky I got to witness that firsthand of like the commitment to trying to tell the best, most compelling story possible, even on our fourth or fifth sequel. But also, now I'm in a space where, at Netflix, we're making wholly original, and Netflix and Skydance and Apple making original projects that have never been adapted. They're not based on, they're not sequels. I mean, some of them are based on existing properties, whether they be literary or fairy tales, but, it's really cool. That's another cool aspect, is to work on a wholly original project and to start from scratch. So it's great. I've been lucky to work in those leaders who are really, really passionate about original animated storytelling. So hopefully that keeps going for me.
Very key word was original, right? Like
absolutely.
It is, but it is refreshing. It's a wonderful medium, and
it's wonderful. It's the most collaborative medium I've ever been a part of. And you can take it and you can work in any other aspect of this industry, having learned so much from it, especially just on a purely collaborative level. I mean, if you're in a writer's room for 3 weeks, you're on set for a certain amount of weeks or months, and then it goes back to, and then it goes into post-production, on live action. But animation, it's constantly rewriting, and your editorial process is your writing process too. You're in the edit suite, you are swapping out takes and storyboards and final shots and stuff like that. So it's a whole amalgamation of things and aspects that you're always going back to the drawing board and refining and making better. So it's like a constant process of rewriting, which is really great. And you can take that aspect into anything you do, in the industry. So I'm grateful that that's my starting place. Maybe it's my ending place, but I'm glad it's my starting place, at least for now. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And you're making me realize too, like, I mean, in that process, you can tell if a joke lands or not. Whereas in the live action world, it can be funny on the page.
Yeah.
And then you get to the set and it's not. And then try to fix a joke in editing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, whereas the process you're talking about, like, you can see what you have to adjust as you're going.
As we're going.
Better. Yeah.
And we hope we're a good audience as we watch it, and we review it at the studio. But it's all from a bunch of people who are really passionate about this medium. So yeah, it's been a thrill ride all along the way. And these past from when we first talked to when we're talking now, it's been a fun journey. So I hope it keeps going.
Been a hell of a journey from June 2018
to now
to July 2025.
Not much has happened,
You've come a long way, sir, and actually, I guess.
Thank you, man.
Well, I've gotten a lot older.
You and me both, man. You and me both. I just hit 30 this a couple months ago, so
big 3-0, yeah.
A little scary, yeah, but fun, exciting.
I tell everybody I'm almost 60, but I'll be 57 soon, so.
Nice.
What are you going to do?
We're doing it.
Exactly. All right. Anything else you want to mention, or should we, I got to admit, I'm looking forward to your 4 questions. Not going to lie.
So. No, look, I mean, I don't know when this will drop, but, keep an eye out for the short film that we're circulating right now. Amped short film on Instagram. I'm Vincent Salvano. Yeah. So, hopefully, follow us there, for all happenings on the short, and hopefully more projects to come,
Excellent. Yeah. I think this will drop, I'll be able to let you know, but needless to say, I bank a fuck ton of podcasts before a festival so that I can shut it down for 4 to 5 weeks before a festival, because I'm like, do I really want to have hour and a half conversations with people when the to-do list is needless to say, if there's a festival runner who doesn't have weekly moments of like I really should be doing something else with my life. Too much pressure. How many people are coming? What the fuck? But but either way, I think now all that the backlog is kind of out. So this might actually be pretty soon. I'll be able to let you know. You are going to be amusingly. I should have figured this out.
No, you're good.
We weren't recording, but had we recorded in 2018, you would have been like guest number probably 50 or 60. Episode probably 50 or 60, probably somewhere around there. And now it's going to be like 560 something.
That's well, congrats to you for all those episodes. And I'm just personally glad that I got to do it now, I think, because I just feel like I have more to kind of just talk to you about, and also just come to my own realizations about things, about my career, about filmmaking, over the years. So I'm glad that we did it at 560.
Hey, it worked out. Hey, and again, kudos to you and on everything. And I think it certainly says something about you that, like, you met some festival runner in 2018 and he invited you on a podcast and you said yes, and then and I will always say this, people who reschedule, I don't care if you reschedule for 7 years, like, that says something about a person, that they don't just blow something off, that they save it for later, like returning to it. I don't know, I'm gonna say this proves you're a quality human being.
Thank you. I've been waiting for that from someone. Thank you.
I could tell you a really funny story from 2 weeks ago at the film festival. This guy made an amazing documentary about one of the worst films of the 80s. And it was starring Barry Bostwick, and we did the world premiere, and Barry Bostwick is sitting there, and Barry Bostwick's kind of like a father figure to this dude, whose father had ditched on him. I hope this isn't. He said it publicly, but and I just and I actually wanted, and it was emotional. We presented him with the Best in Fest award and stuff, and Barry was being really funny, and in my heart I wanted to go, hey Barry, just turn to him and say, you did good, I'm proud of you. But I didn't tell him. But it was like such a moment, like this guy really needed to be told, like, from his father figure,
proud of you, son.
You did good. The world, we're proud of you, But anyway, I don't know, that almost applied. All right, well, feel free to, after this, so there will be clickable links to the show notes for any of your websites or Instagram or any of that.
Okay, yeah. Cool.
And I will, the clickable link thing will apply for what I'm about to say, which is, well, first, thank you, Vincent.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. If you want to learn more about this podcast, just go to discoveryindiefilm.com, or on social media, it's always at DIFwins. I always add, because I'm a petty human being, I have quit social media, which means my wonderful podcast producer, Karina, will see your messages if it's on Facebook or Instagram. We actually shut down the Twitter X. Walked away from it. But I check the Blue Sky. So if you hit Blue Sky, and by the way, I guess I've no one is on Blue Sky, so I'm kind of alone there. But I will. If you write to at DIFwins on Blue Sky, it actually, I'm the guy who reads it. But so that's discoveryindiefilm.com. If you go to discoveryindiefilm.org, that is the website for the nonprofit which runs the two film festivals we were talking about, Sherman Oaks Film Festival and Film Invasion Los Angeles. Sherman Oaks Film Festival we hold every December, and that's ShermanOaksFF.com, and it's at ShermanOaksFF on social media. Film Invasion LA, we hold that one every June, FilmInvasionLA.com, and at Film Invasion LA on social media. As always, I'm the Blue Sky person, nothing else. And it's just fun to mention, after many false starts in many cities, there is a team that has embraced it, and I trust them and know them. So in January 2026, I'll be in Lima, because Film Invasion Lima, Peru is being born in January. Yeah, our first expansion, instead of just another city in the U.S., is to Lima, Peru.
That's huge. That's awesome.
It's huge, right? Really cool. So cool.
That's incredible. Nice.
And when we stop recording, I'll tell you what an amazing let's just say the theater rental in Lima, in the Spanish Quarter of Lima, which is like beautiful, where all the museums and everything is.
Oh, yeah.
It's 1/7 what we pay.
Yes, yeah.
For 6 hours of theater time in Los Angeles. I'm like, am I going to find out next January that I should move to Lima and fly here for festivals instead of fly to Lima for a festival? I like it warm too. But anyway. All right, so I mentioned everything I'm supposed to. Thank you again, Vincent.
Thank you.
And thank you everyone for listening. And the podcast after this one, if you're listening to this and that one hasn't released, you'll have to wait. But the one after this, Vincent's going to answer the 4 questions, which includes name 3 films you love, underrated, overrated, and something lesser known. So there we go. We're about to have a little more fun. All right. Thank you. And thank you everyone for listening.